Hey, everybody. Welcome to 50 Years of Jet Fan. Please click like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Today, we will talk about the Jets, Jags, the potential road to the number one draft pick. I ran scenarios because I'm a little bit crazy, and why not? There's 4 games left in the season. One can hope and dream, even though it's highly unrealistic, but I have a path. And let's talk about the latest, the latest thing going around Jets X today, X Twitter, whatever you want to call it, which is Joe Burrow. Excuse me, Joe Burrow, and his, comments that he made today at the, I think it was yesterday actually, in his daily presser. But before we get to those things, let's talk about Jets Jags. There's no other way to say it, but when you are starting Brady Cook, your likely backup is Adrian Martinez, and you're coming off of a blowout loss to Miami, and now you have to travel on the road against a team that is hot right now, whose strengths are your weakness, and who does a really good job of turning the ball over. This could get really ugly, right? I mean, if we're just being honest with ourselves. Brady Cook, undrafted rookie free agent. I absolutely think he should be starting every game. I know some people seem to think that he's only going to start this game. They know what they have in him, and they'll go back to Tyrod or even potentially Justin Fields, which to me would be absolutely crazy. There's no world where Justin Fields should step on the field again, except because he's a New York Jet and the Jets Jet, right? But I just don't see any world where it makes any sense to start either of those guys. Now, people will say, well, they have a responsibility to the other 52 guys on the field to try to win games. No, not at this point. You can give the moral victories that they had in the season. They had a couple of wins that people got excited about. They've been playing hard. And really up until this past week where they got blown out, aside from the Dallas game, they've been pretty competitive. You traded Sauce, you traded Quinnen, you pulled your starting quarterback in favor of Tyrod. He's hurt. You're starting Brady Cook. This is no longer a season about doing what's best for, let me rephrase that. This season is about next year. There's so many guys on this roster right now who won't be part of this team when they become good, that a random road win on week 15 against Jacksonville is not going to change the reality of the New York Jets and where they are. It's not going to change the path forward for this team, where all of a sudden we have momentum rolling into 2026. This is about setting your franchise up for your future. And at this point right now, the Jets do not control their own destiny to the number one pick. They lost that with a couple of those wins, but they do control their own destiny in a lot of ways when it comes to maximizing their draft capital value and improving this team long term. So I want to see them play hard. I want to see the young guys get evaluated. But again, my preview of the Jets Jags. Jags are going to throw the ball all over the yard. The Jets can't stop the run. Jets are going to probably get turned over a bunch of times. I think Jags have 15 interceptions this season. It's probably going to be a blowout. It's 12.5 point spread. There's I don't think there's a chance in hell that the Jets are within 2 scores in this game. I just don't see it. And I know there's still people who are like, oh, well, Brady Cook. And look, I want the kid to play. I want him to play. Why? Because let's see if he's part of what the future might hold. And when I say what part of, I don't mean that Brady Cook is the potential QB1 for 2026. If we go into 2026 with Brady Cook as QB1, oof, that's going to be an ugly long season. There's a world where he could be QB2, more likely QB3, as a developmental quarterback on the roster. But let's see what he can do. He looks like he has a good arm. I don't think he's very accurate. He's not lacking for confidence, which is great. But the reality is, he's an undrafted rookie free agent for a reason. There's not many Brock Purdy's that exist in the world, who, by the way, wasn't undrafted. So we're talking about a level below that. He's going to be a guy that you hopefully can become, maybe he sticks around in the league as a backup. But let's see Mechie continue to play. Let's see Mitchell continue to play. Get Mason Taylor as many reps as he possibly can. I know he popped up on the injury report. I'm confident he'll probably play. Garrett Wilson has not even opened his practice window. I'm thankful for that. Again, I really feel like, the Jets are essentially losing without telling you, on purpose, losing, or at least not putting their best foot forward. Garrett Wilson, if he has any kind of knee soreness at all, should not touch the field. I'll argue, even if he's healthy, he shouldn't play at this point. Knees are tricky. He came back after missing time and got hurt again. So what's the point? I know everyone wants to see Mitchell and him together. I'm okay with waiting until training camp for that. And by the way, I think it's more important to figure out whether Mitchell and Mechie are actually part of the roster next year versus whether they would be good on the field all at once. I think there's an argument to be made that Mitchell definitely has a place on the roster. Mechie has some cleaning up to do with what he's been putting on tape lately. Lots of drops a touchdown pass this past week. There's a reason why he's not become, what people hoped he would be. I know the first couple of weeks we got all excited about him, and me included, but what's his elite trait? I don't know. Could he be a wide receiver 4 or 5 on this roster? Sure. As far as Mitchell goes, he's probably what Arian Smith could have been. I think there's a real likelihood that Arian Smith isn't on the team next year. Mitchell gets open. He can go deep. His hands are an issue, but let's see what happens these last 4 games. As far as what do we as fans do these next 4 games, some will root for wins. Me, I'm looking for the road to number 1, or at least the road to close to number 1, where the Raiders don't get number 1. The Raiders getting number 1 would be the worst case scenario for the Jets. Right now, the Jets sit at 7. And, there's a good chance that the end of this week, they still are sitting somewhere 6 or 7 when you look at the schedule. But there is a path to get them to number 1. And, I kind of ran this scenario yesterday. It starts with the Jets having a lose out, obviously. There's a couple of big games in this. The Raiders at home have to beat the Giants. That's not impossible. Everyone's like, well, the Raiders are awful, and they are awful. But the Giants are awful too. I mean, the Giants, I know we get excited about the Giants because, I don't know if we get excited, but people get excited about the Giants because of Dart. But they got blown out against New England. They've lost games they should have won. They're just the definition of a bad football team. Their defense cannot stop anyone. They're just bad. So going on the road across country to the Raiders and just putting that and chalking it up as a win for the Giants feels a little overly hopeful. With that said, if you look at the Giants' remaining 4 games, they play Washington, Minnesota, the Raiders, and Dallas. 3 of those 4 games are at home. So my scenario for them to get number 1, the Jets, there's actually a scenario where if the Giants finish number 1, it's not a bad thing because the Jets could finish in the top 3. But let's just play this out. To become number 1 in the draft, the Jets would need the Giants to win 2 of their remaining games, but not the Raider game. So I would say, what does that mean? That means this week against Washington, you want them to win at home. I think Mariota's starting. So that's a winnable game. Then they play Minnesota at home and Dallas at the end of the season at home. Dallas will have nothing to play for. Minnesota's season's over. So you have 3 teams on the road under 500, all home games for the Giants. If the Giants can win 2 of those 3 games and not win the Raider game, right, that actually really gives the Jets a chance. Tennessee winning another game at home this time against the Saints. I know the Saints just went on the road and beat Tampa Bay. It's the NFL. Tennessee just beat Cleveland. No one would have predicted that either. So can Tennessee win at home against New Orleans? I mean, why not? They could. Again, this is all, look, I'm giving a scenario, and we're going to talk about the next scenario that some people are getting excited about. But this scenario to me is more realistic than the one that I'm going to touch at the end. But Tennessee winning at home against New Orleans, yeah, I could see that happening. Why not? That would get them to 3 wins. See, my scenario gets the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans all to 3 wins, and Cleveland getting to a 4th win. Where does Cleveland's 4th win come from? Cleveland's schedule is really hard. There's 1 game, well, maybe 2 games, but there's 1 real possibility for them to win, and that's at home against Pittsburgh. Why? It's the next to last game of the season. Pittsburgh has got a game on Baltimore right now, and then they play at the end of the season. But if you look at Baltimore's schedule, there's a good chance that Baltimore is eliminated from possibly winning that division before we even get to week 17. Baltimore does not have any gimme wins on that schedule. So if Baltimore loses, another game or so, and Pittsburgh wins the next couple games, which I think they have a good shot at because they're playing home against Miami this week, there's a good chance that Pittsburgh takes a 2-game lead with 3 games to play at the end of the season here. But Pittsburgh going on the road against a good defense in Cleveland, and Cleveland looking like they're somewhat capable on offense right now with Shador against a defense that I don't think is very good. I think that game is much closer than people would potentially pick. It's a division game on the road. Pittsburgh is 1 game over 500. They can lose a clunker at any point. I think that there's a chance that Cleveland can win that game. That would get Cleveland to 4 wins. We need the Saints to beat us. That's literally it. Saints could lose every other game, but if the Saints beat the Jets and we lose out, we're in good shape. And then we need Washington to win 1 game. Now, Washington's schedule is really hard. If Washington beats the Giants, but then the Giants beat Minnesota and Dallas, that will do. But you could have Washington beat Dallas at home. I mean, again, Dallas will have nothing to play for. So if all of that can happen, and again, I know it's a lot, and I know I'm dreaming, but that gets you to number 1. There's a world, though, where the Jets can get to number 3, the Giants picking 1, and Washington picking 2. Right? So if the Giants lose out, and the Raiders finding a way to win another game besides that game, and Washington loses out, or Tennessee loses out for that matter, the Jets can wind up with the 3rd pick and 2 teams in front of them that would not be drafting a quarterback. The bottom line really for the Jets, the most important thing in the world, in my mind right now, is the Raiders have to win a game. And to me, we could talk about getting to number 1, number 2, number 3. Really, the number 1 thing is can the Raiders win a game? It's not going to happen this week. They're going to get the doors blown off. My guess, right? They're playing Philly on the road, but Raiders at home against the Giants. I think it's a toss-up game, and then I think Raiders home against Kansas City last game of the season when there's nothing to play for. Who's to say Andy Reid's like, screw this, I don't want the Raiders to get a quarterback. I'm going to not play Mahomes. I'm not going to play my guys. And and almost in a way loses that game on purpose. I know it's far-fetched, but hey, as a Jet fan, my goal right now is to preserve as much draft capital as possible and want Indy to, and as much as the great story it is to see Rivers back, I want Indy to lose every game. If the Jets can finish in the top 5 and the Indy pick is in the top 15, as long as the Raiders don't get to number 1, I say you got a real shot at getting your quarterback. So, last thing, are we serious? I saw Joe Burrow's presser yesterday where he was a bit unenthusiastic about kind of football in general and his circumstances. And, that clip has kind of made its way around Jets land on X. And, it's interesting because the same fan base that is prospect clutching all of our draft picks between 26 and 27 are the same ones that are ready to give every first round pick we have to go get Burrow. There are so many reasons why this won't happen, and it shouldn't even be a serious conversation. I'm just going to touch on a couple. And if you think I'm crazy, fine. But let's start with reality. And I'm a Jet fan who's grounded in reality. The Cincinnati Bengals are a mess. We all know that. It's Cincinnati, and the ownership's been bad. They have not protected Burrow. They haven't given him a defense that he can win with. So he's kind of got to play, hero. But the Bengals, for as bad as they are right now, have been to multiple playoffs since the Jets have even sniffed 500. So by all objective measures, the Bengals are a better franchise than the Jets when it comes to the opportunity to win. It doesn't mean it will be that way going forward, but to this point, there is no reasonable argument to say the Jets are a franchise that is a better franchise than the Bengals. It's number one. So why do I say that? Well, Joe Burrow has a no trade clause. Why would he say yes to the Jets? I have people who will tell me, well, it's New York and he's built for New York. He could be Joe Namath here. Look at how he dresses, and when he goes, to the games, and he's got flair, and he'll eat this up. He'll love it. Look, the kid played at LSU, and now he plays in Cincinnati. What makes Joe Burrow a New York guy? What makes Joe Burrow the guy who wants to take on the challenge that Aaron Rodgers failed miserably at, which is to come here and change the franchise and the fate of this organization and be the savior? Because if you don't think the Jets trade 4 or 5 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks for Joe Burrow and his big contract in the prime of his career, and the expectation isn't that he's the savior of the franchise, well, I have a bridge to sell you, because that's crazy. I'm a huge Jet fan. I will tell you that I think we're the best fans in football because we endure pain year after year after year and keep coming back for more. Maybe we're masochists, but I don't know why he would sign up for that. We are going to set expectations that Joe Burrow is going to win us a Super Bowl. And you know what? When you give up that much draft capital, yeah, you probably should feel that way. But I don't see him wanting to sign up for that. I don't think that man. And listen, if you don't think that he watched what happened with Rodgers when he was here and has an opinion on that, then you're just not paying attention. Because as much as Rodgers was celebrated when he was here, when he came here, and Rodgers handled it really well, I thought, in the opening presser, and he was very, motivated to go win. Guy gets hurt, comes back the next year, and they couldn't wait to run him out of town. Media, fans, they just couldn't wait to. And so, my perspective on it. Now, Rodgers' different personality than Burrow, but I don't think Burrow signs up for that. Not at this stage. I think Burrow would much rather go to a situation. Look, hey, the Rams, by the way. If Stafford wins the Super Bowl this year, maybe he decides he doesn't want to come back. The Rams have a potential top 7 or 8 first-round draft pick, multiple futures. Why wouldn't they potentially be a destination for him? I mean, I think that it would be shocking if he wanted to come here. That's number one. Number two. So No trade clause. Why go to the Jets? In addition to that, let's take a break. I love Joe Burrow. I think he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football when he's healthy. He's 29 years old. He has a massive contract, and he has been hurt 3 straight years, hasn't been able to play and stay on the field. The same fans that don't want to go and move pick swap this year, Indy's first round pick, and a future second or third to get to number 1 to go get a quarterback is the same fan base, same group of people that want to give everything they can, including their right arm for Burrow, who's getting, I don't know, what is he, $50 million a year on the cap, 29, and hurt all the time. Yes, he is a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy. But do you go all in right now? Are the Jets an all-in team? Do you trade all of that draft capital for a guy who's going to be 30 years old next year, who's been hurt, who's paid $50 million a year, when you still have to pay another $38 million next year in dead cap to Fields and Rodgers? Last I checked, most of you guys who are giving me a hard time when I say we should trade up and just do 1 first-round pick and a pick swap for a first pick with Mendoza, tell me you need those picks to build the roster. So what changes with Joe Burrow? Like, we've seen that story. It's actually happening in Cincinnati right now. They're under 500. They're a bad football team who scores a lot of points. So the Jets, who don't have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, would just be a lesser version of what the Bengals are right now by trading all of our draft capital for a guy who is getting paid a lot of money and who can't stay healthy. The Jets are not in a position to go get a expensive vet quarterback. I'm sorry. They're just not. Somebody mentioned Dak Prescott previously. He's in his mid-30s. That doesn't make sense to me. I think the Jets, where they are, they're so young and they need so much that if you can make a reasonable trade to get to the first pick and get your quarterback and maintain all of your capital in 2027, the road to being a winner, a sustained winner, becomes much clearer. That's a clear path to me. So again, I love Burrow. I really like Dak too. There's a much more likely chance if the Jets don't draft a quarterback this year, the path to a QB is going to be Marcus Mariota as your starter next year. Because they're not going to spend big money on a veteran when they have a roster that's one of the youngest in football, that has a bunch of holes on defense, that needs multiple positions, wide receiver 2, center, guard, next year. This is a rebuild, and we have to own that. The Jets are not likely a playoff team next year. The only way the Jets are a playoff team next year. And this is why I implore, and again, it doesn't matter how you root, so it doesn't matter. Why am I a tanker this year? Here's a simple answer. The Jets lose out. Some miracle, the Raiders win the Giants game, and the Jets could get to the number 1, number 2, or 3 pick with not having the Raiders at number 1. If the Jets can get the quarterback and get it right, still be able to, they still will have multiple picks this year and $100 million in cap room. There's a scenario where if that quarterback is really good, they get their wide receiver 2, they improve the roster on defense in free agency, not get superstars, but improve the depth, that they could win 9 games next year and be competitive to potentially be a playoff team, or at least be in the hunt, which, when was the last time they just were in the hunt? But then 2027, you had 3 first-round draft picks. Now you have a young quarterback, a young core, 3 first-round draft picks, still massive cap room to go and actually become a long-term sustainable winning team. There is no quick fix for this team. None. Joe Burrow, doesn't matter. I don't care who it is. They'll score points and give up a ton of points. This is not a team a quarterback away. And when you're not a quarterback away, just like everybody here doesn't want to go and give 3 first-round picks for a quarterback, which I don't either. You don't give up 3, 4, or 5 first-round picks for a superstar quarterback who's gotten hurt a lot and has paid a ton of money when your roster is what the Jets roster is. That's my perspective. Anyway, hope everyone has a great day. Enjoy the football games this weekend. Jets, Jags, yeesh. It will likely get ugly. As far as games this weekend that you want to hope for, pray for miracles, Raiders being one of them. If the Raiders can win a game, changes the entire conversation. Can Philly implode? Why not? I mean, why not? Miracles do happen. Can the Jets get one in their entire? I mean, in my lifetime, I haven't seen one. Maybe they can get one this week. So go Raiders, and talk to you guys after Jets Jags. Thanks.